Bam! We are live. Hey guys, as you can see, my hair looks a little bit more normal. Sort of. Good to see you guys. Hey, right on. We're getting people right in right away. Welcome to After Dark, even though it's not really dark. A little more cloudy today. Adventure man, Greg, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're enjoying that Marlon deck. Hey David, how's it going? Theo Epp, you're on, dude. Were you napping? Darren, good to see you. How's it going? Right on. Yeah, the 2011 GM. This is a Sierra. I love the truck. I am in BC. All right. I hope everybody's doing awesome today. Hey, remember, grab yourself a beer. Oh, must have ran out of the garage here. Oh, that is good. It's been a tough day here in BC. How do we have service in BC? Yeah, we have this thing in British Columbia. It's called the internet, the World Wide Web. And I get on the line, and then I'm on the line right now with you guys. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Oh, guess what? Who we have on the show today? Ashley Chaffin. And rumor is she's out on the ocean. We're going to bring her in a little bit. Hey, while we're bringing people in, I get, last week we talked a little bit about cleaning your sled, what to do before we put it away for the summer. This week I had a bunch of questions on what I use for communication in the backcountry, because a lot of guys, myself included, dirt bike, trials bike, mountain bike, I'm out on the water, all that sort of stuff. So what do I use for my safety? So what I've been using, I actually tested this. This is a brand new product. I tested this out this year. It's called the Zoleo. It's a personal communicator. So it goes up to the satellite and back down, and you do everything on this. So you can do a check message and SOS on it, but everything else is done on your phone. So what's really great is I can just carry this in my pocket. If I ever have a problem, I just open up this tab here, and you can see the SOSs right there. And so very, very cool if you're looking for a personal locator for the winter and summer, hunting, anything. Give me a shout, because I have I do this product, and it's very cool. If you have questions and you want to get it in your local area, that's all cool too. Just send me any questions. So a little bit about that. I hope everybody is doing well. As you can see, people, I don't know if people watched the show where I did the cul-de-sac. That's where you just shave this part of your head and keep it really long. My wife said I looked about 25 years older, which was, I laughed at. She said, finally, I couldn't look at you enough with that haircut. So we just shaved it all off, and it's growing back pretty fast. So that's why a little bit less hill. What's the difference between this and the Spot? Well, this uses the Iridium satellite network, the largest in the world. So it has no blackout spots, and sends about a message and gets a message in about a minute. And so the biggest difference is Spot uses Globalstar, which is they have about a third as many satellites, so your messages don't go out as fast. And that's the biggest problem I had with Spot when I initially used it. So, but if it works for you, that's all that matters, and you have something. But somebody that's looking, these are priced really reasonable, $260 Canadian or $200 US. So pretty cool and low. And for activation, they're $25 to activate, and you can choose between a $25, $45, or $70 plan. Change between plans anytime you want. On the show on Monday, we're gonna have Tony Jenkins. Tony was on the first show. We didn't really tape it, and so people really missed that. And Tony, he's such an awesome guy, my main brother. And so we're going to bring him back on Monday. And just so people know, the shows are going to go all the way to April. So we had such a great outpouring of people loving the shows, which thank you so much for joining in. It really means the most. I think this is awesome that we can chat to you, and that we can have all these people guests on the show. Like we had Ryan Harris, which from Snow West, which is in my mind legitimized the show as far as who we're going to have. But we're going to have a lot more different people on the show, and then we'll start it back up before Haydays to get you all ramped up for Haydays. So it's crazy times in the world right now, but I hope it's treating you really well. We're going to bring in Ashley Chaffin when she can. She's all the way up in Valdez, Alaska. And I think she's going to get in here. I'll see if I can see her. I know Riley Suhan joined in. Dude, awesome to see you. Some of the legends of the sport. I'm going to see if Ashley can get herself in here. You might have to get out, Ashley, and then come back in, and then look for where it says if you want to join Norona, then you can do that. Let's see if that works. We'll see here. Yeah, Riley, good to see you too, buddy. Hope you're doing well up in the interior of BC. And yeah, lots of people on here. We're just gonna check it out. I hope you grabbed a beer. Did everybody grab a beer? Make sure you grabbed a beer, and or whatever you know. If you're on the local kick, you might have a White Claw, or you might have a Noon if your wife's forcing you to drink those things. I actually like them, so. But we've kind of made it mandatory. Theo, do you have a beer there? You got a beer going? Ashley, can you make yourself on here? Yeah. Oh, let's see. There she is. Boom. Let's see. Go live. Okay, let's see. Let's see if we can bring Ashley in. And yeah, we're going to get maybe a little bit of rain tonight, which we need. If you watched the news, if you saw Squamish, we had a big fire here. Oh, my God. Yeah. Okay. I wish I could get rid of my half of the screen because you look so good. You make me look bad. Hey?
Oh, there, now I can see. Awesome. It's working.
Right on. And what are you doing out there? Are you getting some king crabs?
Yeah, actually I'm beach combing with my dogs right now. So, lift the camera up. You can kind of see the mountains in the background, and there's one of my puppies. So, yeah, just out here by the ocean and scavenging for stuff.
Well, it's so good to see Ashley. Hey, I know, and we'll tell everybody how hard you've been working. Ashley owns a coffee shop in Valdez, Alaska, which is a rad coffee shop. You got to visit there, Sacred Ground. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But she's been working double shifts. With what's going on in the world, of course, it's hard to find people to get into work, new people, all that stuff. So she's been working double shifts pretty much for the last 2 weeks. Yes. And it's only she saw the fan base from the show, and I was begging her so that we could get even more people. So she agreed to She agreed to take the time to do the show.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, it's pretty interesting in Valdez right now. Actually, the city has its own mandate. So for you guys that want to come ride here right now, if you actually want to come into Valdez, you guys have to quarantine yourself for 14 days if you are 100 miles out of Valdez. So that's definitely been a little interesting for springtime. Of course, everyone's supposed to. I'm not sure if it's working or not.
Yeah, it is. You were freezing a little bit, so I don't know how many bars you have, but we'll go with what you got because you are in Valdez, Alaska. Holy, this is pretty cool. I'm in Squamish, BC. How's the weather there, Ashley?
Pretty overcast today. Really warm though. We had I don't know, about 4 inches the other day of snow, and now it's starting to melt. But we're kind of in that in spring mode right now, where tomorrow we could wake up with 6 more inches and it can get cold again. So you never know what it's gonna bring.
Yeah, I love Valdez. And hey, Ashley, we're going to talk a little bit about this after it's over. But at 7 o'clock, 1 minute away from now, we have all the people in Squamish. Well, British Columbia, pretty much the whole province does it now. We do the Rev for Support. And I know you've actually been doing the Rev for Support. And it's so great to see so many people. Make sure you keep those videos coming and tag Skidoo and tag Rev for Support. it's all about honoring all the frontline workers that are helping all these people that are getting sick, and making sure that they stay alive and get back back on their feet as quickly as possible. And like, again, for us to just also make sure we're mindful of what we're doing when we're out doing it and all that sort of stuff. So hey, I got an 11-year-old across the street. She loves honking the horn of that truck.
That's awesome.
But I don't know what you got, but I was allowed to use this today. So this is what I'm going to be making some noise on. Here comes Abby for the. I always get beat out by an 11-year-old. She's got the horn.
That's awesome.
What do you got? Can you make your dogs bark?
Oh man, I don't know. That could be tough. They're finding their own treasures right now on the beach. I got nothing right now. I got nothing. The gypsy.
This also has a piano.
He can't. You guys can't cross the border right now. Here, I'll give you something, Jess. You gotta yell. Rev for support. Yell.
Awesome. That is awesome.
Man,
all right, well,
but it's not, Dave, it's not 7 here yet, though.
Oh yeah, I know, but it doesn't really matter. It's
yeah.
It's seven somewhere. So we're gonna ask Ashley a little bit about Rev for support. So Ashley, what do you think about Rev for support? What do you think what do you think about what we're doing here, and how's it working in Valdez?
It's awesome. Even people on the street were getting really excited about it. There's a couple kids that had 120s on the street going up and down the street. And, everyone's social distancing right now. So the second someone opens up their garage door and there's, activities or movement, everyone's paying attention anyway. So I made my dad wear those little wings. I don't know if anyone noticed. So so people were really interested in it, and they were really pumped on it for sure.
That's awesome. So let's start with where Valdez is and how you basically grew up there. So tell us a little bit about Valdez.
Valdez, there's only one road into our town. People don't realize how secluded this place is. I love it here. It's crazy. You can kind of see the mountains and, where I'm at, and I'm probably 5 to 6 minutes from my house right now. So really small town and only one grocery store. The closest city is Anchorage, and that's about 5 to 6 hours away. So people don't realize, you can't just, if your washer or something breaks, you can't just go buy a new one. You're 6 hours away from anything. So even, riding sleds, for instance, when you come down here, you need to make sure you have oil and parts and everything, because the closest dealer is going to be Wasilla Eagle River, and that's still, 4 to 5 hours, depending on how fast you drive.
Yeah. So what I've been there a couple of times with you, and it's been it is one of the. I love Alaska. I've been all over the Alaska, and actually it was super fun to come to Alaska and ride with you a couple of times. And I absolutely love it, and it really is. It feels like you're kind of at the edge of the earth, and it's such a beautiful place. But it also, you don't get a super hot summer. It can be nice there, but super hot is kind of only for, I don't know, maybe you can explain. It's only a couple of months, even for summertime.
I just lost
tell us
the
a little
last
bit
part
of
of
the
what
weather
you said.
there.
The weather right now?
Oh, I was just saying, tell us a little bit about what the weather does, because you only get about 2 minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
You only get about 2 months of summer.
Yep. Yeah. So even right now, last year was actually our hottest summer we ever had, and that was very unusual. We're, as you can see, right by the ocean. So summertime, we still have that breeze. We don't get really warm temperatures here. And we are, one of the snow capitals and that's awesome in the winter, but in the summertime it means a lot of rain. So definitely need to dress warm summertime. And then winter, it's almost opposite, right? When I go ride in the States and I get cold, everyone's like, what do you mean? You're from Alaska. How are you cold? I'm like, we stay like in the 25s. You know, we don't actually get really cold in Valdez. We're right against the ocean. So.
Right. Cool. So, you tell us a little bit about how you got started with snowmobiling.
Oh man. So my dad really, really wanted a boy. That was like his dream. He really wanted a son. And I was the last daughter. There's three of us. And so obviously, since I was the last child, he did not get his son. So instantly just started throwing me on dirt bikes, sleds, all his guy friends actually. They all had sons around my age, and it was just the thing to take your son to the cabin getaway, which is, I don't know, a couple hours away. We'd go to Lake Louise, ride, you know, the cabins, go ice fishing, everything. And it was always the father-son getaway. And then my dad had me, and instantly it was like, why is she here, you know? So, I mean, they obviously, it was like a competition thing, and it really pushed me as a younger girl, you know, just I wanted to get at their level and wanted to be accepted by them. And it actually did wonders because, you know, after a little while, they were like, wow, this chick can ride. She wants to hang out. You know, she's good at what she does. And, you know, for any of the guys out there that have daughters, you know, the more, you know, you have a daughter, and the more time you spend with her and get her out there, you know, there's not a comparison guy girl. It's just getting out there and having fun.
Yeah, it's totally wild. You know, I want to instill in her just getting out and having a great time, and it really, you know, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. You can do all these things, and
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of things better. And so I think it's really, that's why your story is so unique. I mean, you grew up in the heart of you know, snow machining, snowmobiling with some really hardcore riders. Amazing riders have come out of there. I mean, that's kind of, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's like hockey in British Columbia or anywhere in Canada, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
everybody wants your kid to be a hockey player, and in a way, it's in Valdez. It's not, you know, sledding is just a way of life. It's the thing you do for fun.
Oh yeah. And we can even drive the sleds on the streets. You know, when we were in high school and, you know, junior high, it was the thing to ride your sled to school. So
Yeah, and so then how did you get? Because you started initially into snowcross.
mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And the comment that was just said, not the gender thing. I was just commenting on how I got started. And, you know, it's actually good that someone just commented that because it's not a gender sport. I feel like when people were younger, it was a little bit, just like a lot of sports are. You know, guys are into sports a little more. But this day and age, it's not gender. You know, a lot more girls are getting out riding. It just proves that, you know, it's not gender related. It just, back in the day, more guys did it.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. And so you started to do some snowcross events, and then I know you were good. A lot of your good friends were sort of a lot of like doing extreme freestyle and stuff, and that's kind of, I think, led you into more of the jumping side too.
Yeah, for anyone that watched the old school videos back in the day, Jay Quinlan actually lived across the street from me. Our parents were friends, and Ryan Britt was in the Brat Pack with Keith Frisbee and Kyle Armbrust, Tim Needles. Tim Needles is from Valdez as well. And Ryan was actually one of the boys that would go to the cabin with me and our dad's best friends. And so I started doing some snowcross. Ryan used to snowcross, and he got sponsored at a young age and did freestyle and got more into the filming in the backcountry. And I actually had a bum knee when I was 16, tore my first ACL playing basketball. And he's like, I have an extra sled, you know, let's go back in the backcountry and ride and have fun like we used to when we were kids. I'm like, okay. And it was, oh man, I think that whole week I loved it. It was so much fun that I'm like, man, I think I'm going to quit basketball and start riding again. And not that basketball wasn't fun, but it just gave me a different passion. And I remembered how much fun I had as a kid doing it. And since that day, you know, I started riding for Sled Next with Ryan, and I think I was 16 or 17.
Yeah, we're just breaking up a little bit, but just keep going. That's all good. Yeah. And then how did you get involved with Ski-Doo?
Um, I actually started riding for a dealership in Anchorage, Alaska Mining and Diving. Really great people to work with. and just loved the sled in general. I remember racing it the first time. I was like, man, this is a little different than I'm used to. And, you know, all sleds in general, no matter what brand, when you switch, you just have to get the time, you know, ride it for a little bit, get used to it. And I, you know, committed to it that week, started riding, and loved the sled. And then I know that Skidoo was looking for girls, looking for kind of team members, and, you know, just kind of reached out to him a little bit, and rest is history.
Yeah, I remember when you came on the team, and and I never really started with a story about you, so maybe I'll tell this one a little bit. Is I remember,
wait, which story?
You
which
know,
story are you gonna tell? Which story are you gonna tell?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm not going to tell you. It's actually an all good. It's all good story. I don't think I have any bad stories about you. But yeah, I remember when you came on the team, and you know, everybody knew what a great rider you were. We didn't know you as a person, and I remember meeting you, and you were pretty quiet, really shy, like any good athlete is, like quite humble. And I remember I said, and I don't want to say in the way that I took you under my wing, because that I knew more than you, because I don't think that at all. I just I had been on the team, and I knew that you could do lots of cool stuff. And I know what a lot of people don't know is it's not always just what you do on snow. It's what you can do much more behind the scenes. And we were at club, and we were there together, and I said, hey, Ashley, let's do some videos. And like, I want you to do some of these videos. And you were like, I don't want to do these videos. Or you were just, it wasn't that you didn't want to do them, but you're kind of shy, and you weren't good. And I said, hey, look, as I say to anybody who doesn't like kind of public speaking or anything, I said, no one will know what you don't say, right? Only you'll know what you're trying to say and you don't say. So no one will know that. And I said, if you don't like it, we'll just redo it. And actually, why this story to me is just so special is I remember those first few videos. They were like, I thought they were really good. But when you look back on them, they were like, you're just like when I first started doing videos, they were kind of like, you look back at them and go, oh my God, they're horrible in a way. But I watch you now, and I watch you rip around the you know, Ashley and I always a lot of times hook up when we go out riding, and when we were at club, because we get along really well, and I'll shoot her videos or photos of her, and she knows that I really want to capture a good shot of her, and you know, she can delete it if she doesn't like it or whatever. And so we worked together a lot really well. And it started back in 2011 when we started doing that. And what's so cool, and again, I don't want to say this as sounding condescending, it's more of, because we're an equal partnership, is that I'm so proud of what you have done, because you really just did everything like you did with Snowmobile, and you just took the bull by the horns, and you started creating your own style and videos, and now you do all these riding tips and videos and stuff, and they're just so awesome. And I knew you had that in you. It wasn't anything to do with me. It was just someone needed to just tell you, like, don't worry. You can always change it and redo it. And that's the great thing about video that or photos you can do. And that's, you know, the story I have, other than all the fun stuff that I think what's great about Ashley is she can hang out with all these guys, and you're kind of like, what's great and I, you know, when we talk about instilling things in a young person's life, like my daughter, I want her to be a woman. I want her to be like feminine as she is. But I also want her to be strong and instill the values that she can hang out with a bunch of guys. And most women don't realize how much more power they have over guys than, you know, a lot of guys use swear words or they act tough to be tough. Women can't really do that. So the way they do it is by using their brain, which is so much more valuable, I think, when I see women that can do it. You're great at it. I have another friend, Christina Lusty, who's a pro skier. She's like, you know, she can be guiding, you know, all these macho guys around, but just like, you know, put them in their place if she ever needs to. And but in a good way. They don't do it in a kind of in a bad way. And you're just like that. And that's, I think, what's super special about you, other than all the cool things you do, is really behind the scenes and what Skidoo sees in you. So I think that's, you know, and that's you know, the truth. It's a compliment, but it's just who you are.
Thanks, Dave. And you know what's funny is when you talk about the videos, it's I always tell people when I take them riding for the first time, you know, whether you're a girl or a guy, when you're out there riding and you mess up, everyone messes up, right? And I remember I actually have a really funny story riding for Frontier Films when I was oh man, I think I was 17 or 18. And, you know, all the guys are sitting there eating their lunches. And I was like, well, I'm going to go do some little donuts, you know, around everybody. And, you know, everyone's just eating their lunch. So I'm the only one riding my sled and just wanted to kind of show off. And the snow was just rock hard, and tried just to do some tight donuts and caught my ski and just end over end over end. And I just remember face down in the snow, and I was so embarrassed to stand up because I was like, these guys all just saw me eat it, right? Just trying to look cool. And I actually like broke one of my knee pads. And the best part about it was I got up and rode my sled over to them, and they didn't say anything because they were like, wow, you know, like everyone does that. Everyone screws up, you know, it's just, you have to remember that, right? And going back to the videos back then, you know, you were so good at them and you still are. And it was just looking at you and then being like, man, I want to be able to talk like he does and I can't. And then going back to, you know, riding in general, you're like, well, if I keep screwing up, you're only going to get better. And everyone messes up. It's just, you know, whether everyone sees it or not. So.
Yeah, you're so right. In fact, the funnest part is when someone messes up and then they laugh about it. It gets the whole group at ease and just go have fun and ride. And that's really, you know, what this sport is about, is getting out and having fun. And it isn't about proving yourself, although some people look at it that way, I guess. But it ends up, you know, they're not as fun to ride with. The fun people to ride are just kicking it and doing their thing, and they're doing them and you do you. And then you find, that's why when you find a good group, you really find a good group, because that's where that lies, right? Is just having fun with your friends, whether it's building the jump or whether it's, you know, meadow pow laps or sled skiing or you know, whatever it is. Or exploring the beautiful Alaskan backcountry. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago when we did some sled skiing back there, and we had Julie, who was in marketing at that time, and now she's in clothing, and her and her husband, and we were out sled skiing and snowboarding, and it was just like the magic of where you live, similar to BC, right? It's just, when you get back there and you look around, it's just like endless white-capped mountains forever. So super, super cool. Mm-hmm. Hey, so I got some quick questions for you.
Yeah, so for sure.
What's your worst pickup line you've ever had?
Oh man. There's
got to be a lot of them.
There's actually been a lot of bad ones. Probably like something about a smoke show being a smoke show, but I don't even remember how they said it. It was just something like, okay.
Have you heard this one? Hey, do you like whales? Well, maybe we could go humpback at my place.
Oh my God.
That's why this show is on my Instagram and not on Skidoo's Instagram.
Right?
But it's pretty good. All the people at our marketing firm right now are under the table, ready for the boss to come in and throw something at them. What's your favorite cocktail?
Oh man.
Your favorite drink?
It's kind of boring, honestly. It's probably vodka soda. But
that's not boring.
Barbacoa, remember those blueberry martinis and like the, what is it?
Lemon drops?
An ice glass, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing like
I just want to show
alcohol.
You guys. The sun came out, so there's some boats coming in.
Killer.
That's how easy the weather can be.
Yeah, people are fishing right now there too, right?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Cool. Okay, so what's your favorite beer?
I don't drink beer. I hate beer.
Yeah, that's why she's got the she doesn't look like we all look, a little bit chubby. she's super thin. Okay, now what's your favorite coffee drink?
Oh man, there's a million, but I would always just get an Americano with coconut and cream, coconut flavoring.
How many sugars?
No sugar, because the coconut syrup makes it sugar.
Okay. Do you know how many sugars Craig Fortune has in his coffee?
No.
6. He's a hummingbird. He's like a hummingbird.
Oh
Are
wait,
you a
what's your
coffee?
favorite
Are you?
drink at my coffee shop?
Well, I forget what it's called, but I think it has like coffee and ice cream and Red Bull and pretty much
Oh
I
yeah.
would call it everything. But we're freezing up a little bit. I always get at sorry. I always get my actually I'm pretty simple. I really like a good cappuccino. I don't drink a lot of coffee, but I do like cappuccinos. But I like anything at your coffee shop because you make some pretty wicked drinks. What's the craziest drink that you make? What's the one with the rainbow swirls and like it's I don't know, it's 5,000 calories in a drink.
It's Twisted Red Bull. You
Yeah.
can get ice cream in it. You can not coffee, but there's plenty of caffeine to keep you loaded for sure.
Yeah, why would you not get ice cream in it? Is there anybody that says, "Well, I want that, but I don't want ice cream in it"? You'd be insane.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that don't get the ice cream.
Hey,
It
here's
gets
a
really
great question.
if you drink lots of ice cream, but if you just get the whole Red Bull in it, then you get all the caffeine and our secret mix that I can't tell you, but definitely gives you some energy for sure.
Yeah, here's a great question. How did you get into running a coffee
Oh,
shop? And do you have any advice for small business?
I've actually had the shop. Oh man, probably 15 years now. I actually worked at one for that shop for 3 years, and I started becoming a barista when I was 16, actually. So, just getting lots of knowledge, working at one probably before you own one, just so you can actually get the understanding of how it functions. I see a lot of business owners now wanting to just buy a shop, but if you actually don't know the ins and outs of how the business runs and actually how to make coffee, then you definitely need to get some knowledge of that if you don't want to work at one before you buy one.
Yeah, I will tell people when I visited Ashley for the first time, I was blown away. At that time, Ashley owned two coffee shops. And what people don't know is she also brings in like Red Bull and a lot of products for Valdez. So she goes to Anchorage once a week, picks up all the supplies for her, not only her coffee shop, but for all the shops, bars, and everything around Valdez. And then she delivers that. So this is what Ashley does. She gets up super early, organizes her coffee shop stuff for the day, and I'm talking early 4 a.m. And then she makes sure all her workers are there. She'll go visit her shops, make sure they're all stocked up on goods. Then she will go riding, and then when we come back, we'll meet for friends, and we'll usually go have something to eat, and then we'll have a beer. But then Ashley's like, "Okay, we got to go," and I'm like, "All right." And while they drink 10 beers, we go back and Ashley goes to work and gets all of her stuff that she needs to deliver and organize and then does that. So for all you young up and comers, and it's funny, Ashley, because I don't know if I ever told you this, but when I was young, I was the exact same way when I started. People always wonder, how have you been doing this for your life with working with sponsors and stuff? And it's like 24 hours, 7 days a week, man. I'm doing something. If I'm not, then there's something not being done. And you are exactly that person. So for all those people who are looking to get into this sport or any other sport or business, it just literally it is a lifestyle. It's not sort of, hey, I just do this on the side. It's a total all encompassing lifestyle. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So and you're still doing that. You're not only doing that, but you now kind of split your living between two houses with your fiance Jamie.
Yep. And that gets a little
Awesome.
interesting just
So
because sometimes you feel like when you almost have everything done in Alaska and then you go to a new spot, you get a little behind going back and forth, but
yeah, it's hard for Ashley just to keep track of all her clothes and where they are and all that. Well, I think you do an amazing job of it, and now you just have the one coffee shop, and I think that just allows you to have more you time, and especially when you're traveling between Canada and Alaska.
oh, for sure.
Is that Jamie? Is that
No, unfortunately not.
Hey Jamie, I'm just joking. I love Jamie. He's like, if your fiance Jamie is such a rad guy. Him and I have a little bromance going on. I won't lie about that. I'll play a couple of tunes for him. Does he still like me, or all those messages I send him, is he starting not to like me anymore?
Oh, he might like you more than you like him right now.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's get into it. What's your favorite sled of all time?
Oh man, probably my race sled, my 600. It was that thing ripped. I loved it, and it was the first sled I actually kind of made it my own. Um, when my dad used to get me sleds, it was always hand-me-downs or more of a boys kind of sled, and my race sled was the first sled I actually kind of made pink, made it girly. The sled ran great, and I have lots of good memories on that sled. It's probably really sentimental. A lot of the first videos I was in, and a lot of my old pictures, I love to look back and just see that sled.
Well, that answer that's a lead into a great question is, what do you see when women start out in sledding, the biggest mistake? Because a lot
Hand
of
me
them get
downs.
those hand-me-down sleds.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
And so what
A
would you say
lot of
to
husbands,
what
boyfriends, always give the girls the hand me downs. And, some of that's honestly almost their mistake, because to them it might be like, oh, I'll be able to get a newer sled if I give them my hand me down. But if you want your significant other to get into sledding, it almost might ruin it for them, because they're going to have a harder time riding that sled. And what you think is a good opportunity to help get them into sledding might actually do the opposite effect and make them not want to ride a sled.
Yeah, and as I said, women are smart. They're not like guys. Or if you go dirt biking first time as a guy and you fall down off a cliff into a ditch, you love the sport. If you're a woman, you hate the sport because you're smart, and so you usually
Yeah.
walk away. So I think that's a great point that you said is get if especially if your significant other is a woman. So if there's lots of women riders trying to get their husbands into riding or whatever, but there's probably more guys trying to get their wives or girlfriends riding. Man,
Mhm.
get them the latest and greatest, because then they're gonna love it, and then you're gonna go riding more. And
For sure.
maybe give us your top 3 tips for women riders, like what you would where they can when they if they start out, they're brand new. What are the top 3 tips?
For one, get training, avalanche training. Make sure that you have the proper equipment. Beacon, shovel, probe. That's for sure the number one thing I see people that they're just getting into the sport. They don't know the right equipment to get. Second would be kind of what I was talking about before. Don't be embarrassed to try new things, because everyone's screwed up at one point in time. It's just that you or might be a little farther behind than they are right now because they've been riding for 5 years. So if you're a female, and you're in a group of guys or riding with your husband and his friends, or, so on, don't be scared to go out there. A couple of female friends that you want to go out and ride with and bond with, because when you are just riding with a group of guys, if you are a little embarrassed or a little shy, you're not going to improve that much if you're not out there wanting to push yourself.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, a question from a viewer from Steve. Have you ever done the Iron Dog? And if so, how was it?
I have not done the Iron Dog.
Well,
It's a big commitment, a very long race, and hands down to everyone that's done the Iron Dog, because it's a grueling, hardcore race. I unfortunately have not had the opportunity to do it. It's a lot of commitment, and honestly, if I was going to try something like that, it's a big chunk of your season, and it's something that I just haven't tried. So,
yeah, well, I can answer that question because I've cross country skied the Iron Dog course, and it was hell. That's what it was. We went from hell to heaven every night. Heaven was when we went to sleep and we weren't skiing. When you do that course, it goes through some of the most breathtaking scenery through the Alaska Range. In the villages is absolutely amazing. But as Ashley said, the guys and girls that do that race, it is it's a lifestyle. It's not hey, I'm just going to go do that race. The people that are doing that race
mm-hmm.
have literally spent their life learning how to do it, and the speeds that they travel. I wish that I traveled that fast when I did it. I got to see every little snow crystal along the way. But they're cruising through at 90 miles an hour average speed. So I remember going through a lot of sections, especially through the Alaska range, thinking like, wow, if they make a mistake here, they're dead. It's you have to
Oh,
keep
for
your
sure.
wits about you for sure. So
Hmm. And
tell us about what you think.
the
Oh,
training is really, really long and hard too.
yeah, exactly. It's not, you just don't, it's not just people, the people that don't sled, they just think you do this. It's a little more than that, right?
Hmm. Oh, for
It's a
sure.
little more than pushing the throttle. Yeah. So, Ashley, tell us about your thoughts on the new turbo.
Oh man, I am so excited about this new sled. I've honestly always wanted a turbo, and I'll admit it. I'll definitely admit this that I am not super mechanical savvy. If I got a turbo and broke down, I would not be able to fix it. Yeah, there's some things I would definitely know how to fix, but when you start to get into the engine and more things, I've been really fortunate to where I have got newer sleds. And if there you don't exact for instance, if you're in the backcountry in Alaska and you break down, you're gonna have to get helied out. Like your sled's gonna have to get helied out. And I'm sure there's a lot of places that are like that, which I know there are. And if you can have a stock sled and have a lot of fun, for me, why would I put myself on an aftermarket turbo that might break down, especially if I don't have a lot of time to ride? And there's people in Minnesota, Wisconsin, a bunch of places that come out to ride the mountains, right? And if you have a sled that's not reliable, it kind of makes it a little difficult. And Skidoo gave me everything I wanted because now I have this reliable turbo and I get a turbo and I've had just nothing but endless fun on it. So really excited about the sled.
Yeah, well, you and me both. I know that the gas goes here, up, it goes right there, and I know where to put the oil in. But other than that, I'm the same. I want to ride them, and because I do a lot of different sports. If you're not into the mechanical side, you're just not. I appreciate it and love it, but I'm with you 100%. So tell us a little bit about your first ride on the turbo in Yellowstone. Did you get that? So I was just tell us what your thoughts initial when you got to ride it in Yellowstone, because that was pretty special.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was way more snappier than I thought. I was kind of thinking, so I've rode turbos in the past, and there's always that lag, right? Like when you first give it gas, it goes, it definitely goes, but it takes a little bit to get up and go, right? And when I got on that thing and I just pinned it, I was like, whoa, like it definitely has that snappiness, right? Like that was the best part I think about the whole thing because you know how deep it was that day and there was no lag, right? And I remember there was the time where I almost hit that tree and you're like, what were you doing? I was like, I don't know, I just got up and go. It happened way too quick. I was like, whoa, I was kind of expecting a lag and it was so deep that day that, I mean, it was so snappy that I was that close to that tree and yeah, you had to help get me out of that one. So you remember.
Yeah, well, we both had to help each other get out of a lot of spots. I agree that the thing is awesome. We had a question here. What's the biggest difference between the 2020 and a half turbo and then the 2021? And I'll just answer that quickly is the rear shock. So they wanted to keep it light initially on the 2020 and a half. So there's just a regular Summit X shock in there, not the free ride rear shock. Basically, the difference is compression. I don't even notice the difference from my expert having that. If you really like to tweak buttons and stuff, then you'll like that. The new gauge is a little bit bigger, but the reality is I've told people all along since that was released, because people were going to hold out, is that if you want to ride this year, get a 2020 and a half, and there's still a few out there in stores, and some guys are selling them for great pricing. It's also another way to get into that sled and not, your cost comes down from it for sure. And we just finished spring check, so want to thank all the people that spring checked the turbo and all the sleds. We did extremely well, especially during this time, and I think there's going to be a lot of happy people. And one of the great things about bringing it out when we did is we had some of the best snow, and we could show people what this thing could do in that snow. I mean, the day we had in Yellowstone, it would have been over our heads, right, Ashley?
Oh yeah, it was hands down the
Yeah.
deepest
So
day. So it was the best day to test that sled.
Yeah, so it's amazing, and yeah, someone's just said there are some demo sleds available from dealers. There's some that have, they only got one or two, and they just didn't have a lot of clientele that still have one or two sleds. So you can still find a few of those if you're lucky. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's the great thing, and or if you snow checked one, you're gonna be. Are they gonna be happy, Ashley, if they snow checked a turbo?
I would be worried if you wouldn't be happy because that means there's nothing that can please you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we had Ryan Harris on the show, and he said, if you live in the mountains and you like riding deep snow and ripping, he's like, why would you think not even like, there's no thought process. You would just want the turbo, and I think a lot of people think we over embellish things, but that is far from the truth. In fact, all we have is our reputation. So really, if anything, we undervalue it. It's just that we're like real, we're like all the real riders out there. We are excited when something new comes, and if it's good, because we're excited.
Oh, for sure.
So what sleds are you riding for next year? Valdez, Alaska. We're getting a little bit of breakup. That's all cool. Oh, sorry.
But I got
Say again.
So I got a 154 free ride turbo, 3-inch for Alaska, and then got a 165 turbo for Canada.
Right on.
Summit.
So you went with the 3.0 instead of the 2.5 for Alaska. Why did you do that? Because I know you like the 2.5.
I do like the 2.5. I went with the 3 because I like to do reentries a lot, and I kind of feel like that extra 3 is going to kind of pop my skis up a little more, and I'll be able to get it around a little bit better. I'm used to riding a 46 in Alaska during springtime, so I'm thinking about, springtime when the snow is getting a little rotten and I want to kind of flip it up. I think that 3 inch is really going to help.
Yeah, great question, and you kind of answered it. Ashley, tell us about track length or the non-aspirated versus turbo. People say there's a big difference. What do you recommend?
Depends on where you're riding, honestly. That you
Yeah,
kind of have to honestly know
and
that question because you can not answer a sled that could be set up for Alaska and then be riding a different location too.
yeah, and it depends how much snow, because Alaska gets a lot of snow, but then you also get set up snow, and at the time you go back to Alaska, it's more set up than deep pow, and
Yep.
yeah, I think that the biggest question people have is they wonder, is the 65, even the 75, going to be nimble? And man, the short tunnel and all those changes on the expert, boy, does that really change the sled, eh, Ashley?
Mm-hmm. So I'll tell everyone something that I liked about the 65 Turbo. So for years, I have owned a 65, and I never rode it as much as my 54. I would always get a 65 and be like, man, I'm going to keep the 65 for these deep days, and wouldn't put that many miles on the 65. And honestly, for me, I'm like 120 pounds, 125 pounds is trying to get that sled up and over a lot in really technical riding was harder for me. And I think that's why I didn't really like the 65. And this year when the turbo came out, that changed everything for me because it's so snappy that it allows you to get your skis up. And when you're going to get your sled up on edge, that's what you need to do, right? Like when you get your sled up on edge, you need your ski tips to pop up. And that 65 turbo became my favorite sled in Canada because it was no longer hard for me to make it turn, or it didn't feel like it wasn't nimble. It honestly started to feel like my 54 just because the skis would pop up, the power was there, and I could get it on edge instantly in a tight tree spot. And that's what honestly did it for me with the new turbo.
Yeah. Well, same question, or similar question from Ryan. Again, he just says same day, same conditions with normal aspirated versus turbo. Lots of people like the 154, but a lot of dealers are saying to go longer. And what would you say to that?
Depends on the riding you like to do. For me, if I had to pick one sled, I'd pick a 54. I like to jump around a lot, to boondock off things, do a lot more playful riding. And I grew up riding a 600 race sled in the mountains, so I learned to fight my way up the hill the whole time. If you're a little newer into riding, you don't want to have to fight for it sometimes. You like to be a little more mellower and you're not worried about wanting to jump or boondock off things, for sure a 65. And not saying if you own a 65, you're not going to do those things. But for a 54, you have to work a little harder and it's a little more playful. So for me, I would pick a 54.
Yeah, and I think Ryan Harris said it really well. Like, I don't, you said it as equally as well as him, but he did it, the video. He just said, where he lives, he gets deep days, but they're far and few between. And then he gets a couple of weeks. Like what happens a lot in the US, it'll dump and then it gets nice for a week. And so that first day, that 54s, you're going to probably have more stucks with it. The turbo will help that and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then once the snow kind of flattens out and you don't get stuff for a week and it's sunny, then that 54 is really going to shine. Whereas in BC, man, I do back to back to back to back to back 7 days in a row where we can't see our tracks from the day before. So, when you get into a zone that no one's been to in those 3 days, it's over your head. And that's where the 65, 75 really shine. And I think you said it best. I mean, normally, most jumping sleds are shorter, but now what you see out there's a lot of guys who, especially in the Whistler corridor too, who have been 154 now they've kind of pushed to 165s and they're not going back. They might go back if they have two sleds, then they have a shorter sled, but they'll take that longer sled more often than not. And people also have to recognize where you ride in Alaska for sure, right? As you said, and I think the best thing that you said was you have to really look at where you ride.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So a little bit of so you got two turbos coming. What is your favorite thing in the expert package that you say that helps you the most over the regular Summit X for 2020 when we did that?
The shorter tunnel.
Yeah. And what do you
That's
like
my
about
favorite. People know I like to re-entry, to jib off stuff. It honestly, I think I posted it last year. There's a couple of videos that I actually overdid them just because it was so much easier to flip around. I was like, holy cow, like you can definitely notice it. And you know me, I actually grew up riding a 37, well, a 21, then going to a 37. And I remember a long time ago I was riding a 121 race sled and thinking, man, I'm going to go to a 37 free ride. Like that's a long sled, And I mean, this is years and years ago. And now it's funny because I got the 46 free ride and I still love that sled. Jumping springtime in Alaska is a blast with that 46. But now my go-to sled is definitely a 54. And when you get the 54 expert, you get the 46 tunnel. So for me, it's like, wow, I still get, best of both worlds. I get the 46 tunnel, but in a 54. So.
Yeah, awesome. Hey, so you did a video with Ken Block. How was that? Because he's a pretty rad dude.
Oh, for sure. Ken is awesome. He's so welcoming too, right? When you hang out with him, you wouldn't even think you're hanging out with, someone to his stature because he's just so easygoing. He's so fun. I got a chance to meet his family, everyone that works with him, and the whole experience was great. I still talk to those guys every now and then, and man, I'd love to do another opportunity or do another video with them, get an opportunity to do something like that because I mean, there was just laughing all around. Carl was with us, and I'm actually jealous if Ken is watching right now because Carl got to ride in his race car. I mean, I want to ride in his race car. How cool would that be?
Yeah, I think that's super rad, and I actually think Ken Block was pretty blown away to be getting to ride with you. So that's pretty awesome as well. And so if you had an opportunity, which celebrity would you love to go take riding? Your favorite celebrity that you'd take to go riding?
Oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, you're not too starstruck, are you? Really?
Not really. I don't know. I wouldn't. That'd be a hard one, honestly.
Yeah, you just like hanging out with cool people, which I think is awesome, and you have a lot of cool friends for sure. So, but I'll let you. Sorry, I'll let you think on that
Ooh,
one.
Tom Cruise. That would actually be a good one.
Yeah. Okay, so
Who would you pick?
Who would I pick?
You never told me.
Yeah, that's a good. You know what? I'm the same as you. I actually.
See?
I don't think I could pick someone. You know what? I like going riding with anybody who likes to have fun, and unfortunately, I get a lot to ride with a lot of people. Like everybody on our team likes to have fun, but also a lot of people around me. Yeah, I just don't. I don't hang out with people that don't like to not like, if they're not fun people. It's just like with the vibe you put out, right? Is you have your sort of your group that you have, and luckily everybody just likes to have a good time, and you're safe and you can rely on one another. All that kind of stuff matters. Hey, so I have another question for you. You were on Escape Mountain. What did you think of that?
Mm-hmm. Oh man, that was a really good like. The funny thing was, everyone in the end, some people were like, "Oh, you had to know, and honestly, we didn't know. And I just remember getting to Carl's, and seeing everybody, and just seeing people that were, I guess, you knew they were going to be there, but you didn't really know the purpose or why we were there, right? And so it was more exciting that night because we're like, well, do you know why we're here? And we're like asking Tony, like, so what are we doing here? And he's like, I have no idea. I'm like, yes, you do, because I was assuming one of those guys knew. And I remember going to bed that night and being like, oh, well, you're going to get a knock on your door at 5 a.m. and there's going to be a garbage bag full of clothes. And, I'm like, okay, like, this is weird. And I don't know, it was exciting, right? Obviously you can see in the video that some of us got irritated and everything, and that's obviously going to happen when you're up on a mountain, you don't know what you're doing. But the experience in general was cool just because it really was escaping the mountain. We went into it and not knowing what we were going to do, so every action that we actually had to take was helping each other out, and it shows what people kind of do in an emergency situation. We all look to each other. There was definitely times where we were irritated with each other, but it was cool to see us come together in the end and get our way out of there. So,
who were you most irritated with? Was it Tony?
Well, did you have to ask that question?
Oh, we love Tony, but you could I could see he looked a little aggressive getting into the fridge and fighting his way through some of that. So I could see that.
Oh, for sure.
Who would you replace with Tony if you could choose your own team?
Well, Dave, you of course. Come on.
And I didn't even pay her to say that, guys. But the problem is I'm like a quarter of the strength of Tony. So I would have just looked at the fridge and I would have said, we can't get into that.
We would have just not had anything to eat that night.
I would have called in for a backup helicopter with some pizzas, though.
Right?
Well, that's awesome. So tell us what you got planned for the summer.
Pretty much working at the shop. Obviously, with everything going on in the world, we kind of don't know what the summer is going to bring. Valdez is a really big fishing town, tourist town, RV parks, and it's a little worrisome just
Yeah, well, I hope you're going to have some fun in and around that work. I know you are. Hey, someone just mentioned something. Do you know what you yell whenever you jump into the water, Ashley? Do you know
yes.
the answer? What do you
Cannonball.
Yell?
Cannonball.
That's right. If you have kids, okay, I had to teach some kids in Mexico this year when we were down there. Whenever you jump into a pool, and it doesn't matter. I had to do it in Fernie when there was a whole bunch of people in a hot tub at a sledding hotel. Whenever you get into the water, you yell cannonball, and you cannonball. I don't care how many people are in that pool or hot tub or bathtub, kids at home. You yell cannonball. Hey, Ashley, it's never enough time, but I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule, and I wish you the best. I can't wait to see you again. I'm hoping we're going to do some fun stuff in somewhere this summer where we can all get out, because you missed out on that last year, and I'm still angry. I'm still very, very angry at you for missing that. You must come for the next time. But we'll make sure it happens. Is there anything? I will say it first. If you have any questions, make sure you send Ashley, give her a like on her Facebook, Instagram page. You got to do that. And if you have any questions for her, all the women riders, all the men riders who want to get better, have more fun, get more information on Abby safety, contact Ashley. she's amazing, and it is a complete honor to be associated on the same team with you. And what do you want to say to everybody out there before we get cut off?
Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Also follow Dave. He's amazing. He's definitely helped me get to where I am today for sure. Love having you as a teammate, by the way. And yeah, I hope you guys got some awesome sleds. And for the last question, I am currently riding a 46 free ride for spring, and I have a 54 expert too for right now.
Dick, anything you want me to say to Tony on Monday? We're going to have Tony Jenkins on Monday.
Oh man, I don't know if I should say it over live feed right now. I might have to text you that.
Okay, well, hey, Ashley, thank you. And I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Make sure you tune in on Monday at 6:50, same bat channel, same bat time. And let's send our love to Ashley and Valdez, and make sure you